Hello and welcome to Take Time. I'm your host, Patrick Marlett, and today we are talking about the Halios Seaforth Unscripted. So as many of you know, I like to script out my thoughts before I do one of these videos. Well, guess what? I've had this watch since December. All my thoughts, they've been lingering up in this brain, and I'm just so ready to talk about this watch with you all. That's right, that whole year we took building the show up, giving it structure. I'm breaking it down to give you my unbiased opinion on the Halios Seaforth. This is, well, Jason gave me two of these watches to talk about on the show. No, I was not given one of these for review. I bought this watch and it was right around $1,000, if I'm not mistaken, to get this watch with the additional Erika's Originals MN strap accessory. And guys, while we're down here, I want you to know the dimensions right off the bat because it's likely the most important part for you. If you're considering picking up a Halios Seaforth in bronze that's coming out, because Lord knows you're not going to get a Roldorf edition unless you buy it secondhand. It's 40 millimeters in total diameter. Now, I think they state it's 48 millimeters from lug end to lug end. Well, I get 46 and a half, so my number's right. It's 12 millimeters thick and has 20 millimeter lug widths. As I do with all of my videos, even this unscripted one, we're going to go ahead and give you the bad, the good, and of course my final verdict on the Halios Seaforth, and there's so much to say about this watch. So unlike your traditional Seaforth, inside the heart of the Roldorf edition, check out that case back, by the way. So you have a custom case back. The only number that would be different, or rather the only information that would be different from anyone else's Seaforth, would be the unit number there. So this is number 58 off the line. But another difference between this and your standard Seaforth is the 2892, and you can see that bit of text just right over there. Generally speaking, I think they go with the 2824 with their standard Seaforth range. But the movement here and the dial, very, very different from your standard Seaforth. Everything else, pretty much the same thing. Here, let me see this. So you get one of these with your standard Seaforth. You get one of these. Get one of these pouches. I don't know if it's the same color, but if I'm not mistaken, I've seen unboxings of other Seaforths. You get a pouch just like this. You also get one of these rubber straps. I took the buckle end off of it. You can see that here. I took the buckle off of it because I'm using it on that fine leather strap I'll showcase in just a second. You get one of these rubber straps, and you get this canvas strap. This is the same canvas and rubber strap that you'd get with your standard Seaforth. Can we talk about that for a second? You're spending a couple hundred more on this than you would your standard Seaforth for a dial, case back, and movement swap. Now, don't get me wrong, that doesn't make this a bad deal, but what? I would expect a little bit more consideration with the overall accessory package for this bundle. It's nice that an Erika's Original strap be provided with this at an additional cost, and that additional cost still puts it under the regular going rate for an Erika's Original strap. I'm going to talk about that in a second because I have a few qualms with how I received that strap. But you could have given me something other than your stock canvas strap and stock rubber strap for the watch. Maybe the rubber strap, right? Because it's a dive watch. Maybe you want to put it on a rubber strap. But what people really wanted, what I really wanted, was the leather strap. Now, this strap did not come with my Halios Seaforth. This is something that I actually got from a recent review item. This is a Horween leather strap that came with my Ergon. And luckily enough, it was the perfect fit for this watch and a really nice leather strap option. Great pairing for this watch. But every image I've seen, every owner of this watch I know, we're all putting it on leather straps. The huge miss in the accessory department. I think the Halios Seaforth Roldorf edition should have come with a leather strap. It just makes sense for this watch. It mates so well with leather. I think this was an afterthought for the brand, and it sucks for the consumer who was expecting something a little bit more special. Overall, I'm just extremely underwhelmed with the accessory package for this watch. It should have come with a leather strap and something that was unique to the Roldorf edition and not the stock standard options. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Let me know if you also bought a Roldorf edition and you're just watching this to see if you agree with me or not. But if you purchased one and you also happen to think that the accessories were a little bit weak, let me know your thoughts. Or maybe you enjoyed getting the same thing as every other Seaforth owner. Let me know. But what about that third accessory option, Patrick? I hear you asking in the comments section, what about the MN strap? Well, there she is. I keep her in a bag separate from all my other straps because I don't want her to get contaminated. She's so pure. But this is the MN strap that comes with your purchase if you add this onto the bundle. And some of you might have, some of you might not have. But it was a good deal value-wise, because it was slightly less than buying an MN strap direct from Erika. However, what you don't receive is the personal attention and care to the cut and length of your strap. You see, when you purchase an MN strap from Erika's website, you'll get the strap in the mail, but not before she asks you what length or what cut you want. What is the size of your wrist? I have a 7¼ inch wrist, so every time I purchase one of these MN straps, and I was gifted one too a while ago, she knew my wrist size and she had cut the dimensions of the strap to fit perfectly on my wrist. Now, I know you might be stating it's elastic. It should be able to just fit any wrist, right? Well, I bet people with a larger wrist, this is extremely uncomfortable on them, because for me, it's a real snug fit to go over top of my wrist, even when this is undone. It would have been really nice if at some portion of this you were asked, I thought that's what would have happened, you were asked what your wrist size is, and that these would be cut to size, but it turns out it was just a bulk stock of these, and you were just sent the strap with the watch head, regardless of whatever your wrist size was. So with a watch head on the strap, it is a real snug fit. And although it might be elastic, I don't want to put unnecessary strain on this elastic repeatedly, because that is going to stretch us out and ruin the longevity of this strap. If it was made to size, I wouldn't have such an issue with it. That's just one issue I have with this MN strap, though. And it's not necessarily MN strap's fault. The other thing is black with red accent threading. The two of these in combination with each other look like something a SWAT team member would wear. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't match the elegance of this watch face, or case for that matter, in my humble opinion. I don't understand why these two were paired together. It's great getting another MN strap, but if we're going to go with the MN strap, why red accent threading? This makes no sense to me whatsoever. So there's the cream and charcoal version, which I received, and then there are two green options. Red, green, in time for the holidays. Maybe that makes sense. Red, green, why? Why would you do that? Why would you pair, even with the cream dial, this doesn't look good in my opinion. There's no red to accent here, so why would there be red accented here? Maybe I take my accessory game just a little too seriously here. However, tell me if I'm wrong, but this look does not work well in tandem with the Halios Seaforth head I received. I just don't understand the pairing, and I tried to like it. I wore this watch head on this strap for a solid 2 weeks on arrival, but neither did I like the feel nor look of it in pair with this watch. However, it is nice having another MN strap in the collection. I own 4 of these now. I'm happy to own 4 of these, so that's not a big problem. The fact that you get a depreciated rate is great. However, it would have been nice if it was cut to size, and it would be nice if it wasn't accented red. So the accessories all in all were a big miss for me, but how is the watch head? How is the most important part? Arguably the most important part of this package. Well, it's good if you don't care exactly what time it is. So here's the thing, whenever you get a watch that doesn't have a minute track, you're going to have to guesstimate where you're throwing that minute hand when you're setting it. So who gives a care how accurate your watch is? You need to wait every 5-minute increments to get this to line up properly with an actual established time on your dial. So, this is neither a bad or good note, but if you got into the Halios Seaforth thinking you're going to have the ultimate time accuracy machine, well, maybe it is, but there's no real great way to graph how accurate this is if that minute hand isn't lining up with an actual minute. I was thinking about this the other day. It would be great if this came with like a plastic overlay, something that would just like plop, like click into place on top of the bezel of this watch that had little minute indications. And you could use that when you were setting the time. So you didn't have to wait every 5-minute increments to make sure this was set up perfectly. But such a thing does not exist. Maybe I'll start selling those. I'll open up my own take time store and I'll sell little minute marker appliers that you can put on your watch head. So if you have a watch that lacks minute markers, well, you can fix that problem now. But until then, you do have to wait every 5 minutes. It's a labor of love. It's something you need to get used to. You have to commit to. But if you can get past that, it's worth it. However, one thing I will mention is that these appliques, they're all hand applied. Now, this particular dial, mine in particular, it's good. None of these markers are that far off from where they should be. But I do notice when the minute hand lines up with the hour markers of the dial, sometimes the appliques may be just a little off center. And mind you, this is hand applied. So you are expecting some variance with that. But if you're looking to buy one of these secondhand at this point, if that's going to bother you, it's going to bother you a whole lot. Like if you're a perfectionist, for me, it's not such a big deal. At least with this dial. If you watched my update video for this month, you'll know that this is my second model. Go ahead and watch that update video if you haven't yet. But this is my second model, and the dial this time around looks really good. I'm not noticing the same issues I had with the previous one. So if you can get over the appliques and you can get over the fact that you need to line up that minute hand every 5-minute increments, then you'll be okay. So aside from the accessories being a miss in my book, and obviously some of the inherent issues you'll have with a watch that doesn't feature a minute track, if you can get over those humps, you'll probably really love this watch. When I first received this watch, I really didn't know what to make of it. As a matter of fact, I didn't like it for a good long while. And as you know, if you watch the channel or you're a longtime fan, or you might have just seen my Halios Tropic review, I really enjoy the Tropic series. I wish it would come back, as that is kind of still my favorite model from the brand. I'd happily buy one if I could. However, the Seaforth is clearly the fan favorite and the one that's kind of sort of here to stay. It doesn't look like Jason is looking to keep standard models in his inventory. Although there is a bronze version of the Seaforth coming out, it doesn't appear that a stainless steel one will come back. Hopefully it does, and with a bracelet. But as it stands, this was one of the last stainless steel models you could receive from Halios, and arguably the quintessential Halios Seaforth at that. If you were going to own any Halios Seaforth, this was the model to get. It is by far the most handsome dial configuration. Props to Jason and the team over at Roldorf for making this composition, because it is absolutely stunning in person. And once you've lived with it, once you've experienced it, it's honestly up there with other flagship divers such as the Rolex Submariner and Omega Seamaster Professional in the aesthetic department. It is something to behold. It's a really handsome look. The case design in tandem with the dial, that is. I think the stock versions look great. I think they're excellent in their own right. But this model is something special. The Roldorf Seaforth is one of the most legible watches I've ever owned, let alone had on the channel. There's little to get in the way of you and the time. Just the text Seaforth, the water resistance rating over at the 6 o'clock position, as well as the text automatic. It's just a very simple, elegant dial. It has that refined simplicity I always mention on this show, and it cranks it up another notch. It's just executed so perfectly. There's really nothing to get upset with the aesthetic here. There's nothing that's driving me up the wall. When I look at this dial, I'm mostly looking at it because I enjoy taking this piece of art in. It's not necessarily for the time, because when I do look at it for the time, I'm rounding one direction or another to, let people know what time it is, or if I'm checking it for my own sake, I'm going ahead and rounding it. And what's funny, if I haven't worn this watch in a while and I'm going to put it on or add it to my rotation, generally speaking, I don't even bother setting the time. It is set currently, but normally I don't even bother with it because I just enjoy the way it makes me feel. I think a good watch is really there for the way it makes you feel. And secondly, obviously telling the time. That's why we own those Casios. That's why we own those daily divers, those beaters, whatever you want to call them. It's because those are the practical piece. This is that kinetic art we want in our collection. So was the asking point at around $1,000 with the Erika strap, or just shy of that sans the Erika strap, appropriate? I think so. The thing is, with the movement that's inside this watch, the ETA 2892A2, you can find that in watches that are far above the asking price of this piece. I mean, and maybe that's why I liken it to the Omega Seamaster Professional. I used to own an Omega Seamaster Professional with a caliber 1120, which, if you know, is a 2892.2. So the dimensions here are very similar to that because the interior dimensions are spaced out quite the same for that exact same movement. Maybe that's why it has the same feel, rather, and stature of one of those watches, one of those flagship models that we all admire, and why this one is so admirable. Because it's a very cost-effective way to get an excellent movement in a watch that is uniquely its own. And that's what's so special about the Seaforth. I think that's why it's on the map for so many people, is because it has a case aesthetic that is really unlike any other. And of course, you can liken one watch to another for the rest of the day as long as you want. There's plenty of connections that watches have, but when you look at this, you don't mistake it for anything else, at least not easily, in my opinion. To me, when you look at this, it's a Seaforth, but with a really amazing movement. So at its asking price, I think it was fair. And I know we all have budgets, but do you think that sub $1,000 for this watch was a good deal? Let me know in the comment section down below. And, I paid for this watch. It was 2 parts. You had to put in the pre-order where you dropped the initial, roughly $500. And then later on, you punched in another $500 for the watch with shipment. But I think that's a really great deal for what you're getting. And, micro brands don't get enough credit in regards to their detailing or their finishing because this group does it extremely well. Halios makes a really fine watch, and I think that's why they get so much respect in the industry because they've been doing it for a while now, but it wasn't, until really this design where I think they've seen so much favoritism from different online groups, magazines, and obviously collectors and reviewers like myself. This is a really great watch, and for a lot of reasons. Not only is that dial aesthetic amazing, but the action for the crown, the movement inside of here, the 20 Atmos water resistance rating, there's a lot going for it that us as, watch collectors and consumers like to see with their watch. That sapphire crystal, by the way, I only commented on it briefly, but it is really, really charming. And it's the same that you'd receive with, your stock model, but the way it looks here with this dial and that stainless steel bezel is really amazing. It's hard to tell where the crystal and the bezel meet. They sort of sink in together. They blend in really well, and that's, due to the high polished ring that meets it just around the top end of that bezel. It's a fantastic look, and it's something you'll see on their standard versions as well. So you don't need to, it's not reserved to the Roldorf edition. The case and crystal are the same on the standard models. So, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck, whether you purchase this one, you purchase it secondhand, or you're looking to get one of these standard ones. It is a really good bargain. It's funny, I never really looked at the secondhand market on these. I never really considered selling it after having owned it for, the X amount of months I've had it now. Let me know, is it outrageous? Is it right around the asking price that Halios offered it at? I really hope so, because it's a really good opportunity to own a great watch at that price, particularly with the movement and execution of this dial. It's a really good deal in that regard. And on a leather strap, the Roldorf edition of the Seaforth is right at home, particularly this chocolate leather one here. It's funny, I'm so glad I got that Ergon in for review. I absolutely love that piece. And I love the accessory that came on it, but I didn't think this leather strap looked good on that watch. And, well, look at that. It goes perfectly with my Seaforth. And it's nice because I even have the Halios buckle on the end here. Again, it would have been great if it came with its own leather strap, but I don't think it could have made it any better than the way it does with this one here. Now, there are a few odds and ends I want to discuss before I wrap up this video, obviously provide you all with a wrist shot as well as give you my final verdict on the piece. And that's with some of the detailing and finishing. If you own a Seaforth, I'd love to get your opinions, but how do you feel about the lugs? I'm left and right on them, every day, every time I look at this watch, but something about the execution of the lugs is just a little funny to me. This isn't a bad note, this isn't a good note, it's just a neutral note, but you'll notice how the lugs curl into the case, how the lugs themselves curl in towards the bezel. It's one of the only, curved angles on this watch like that, and that detail itself stands out a whole lot, in my opinion, in day-to-day use. You can see what I'm talking about here, just right where the lugs meet the case. I feel like it would have been nicer if that was a straight cut, straight towards the case and straight down and not sloping to meet the bezel. And maybe you can take in what I'm saying just a little bit better here. But it's just an odd, off-angled look for the watch. I also don't know how I feel about the high detail, the high polish detail here with the beveling. From the one image that's up of the fair one, it looks like the execution is a little bit sharper on that model. But you'll notice that these cut into towards the case, but they'll also have that interesting slope to them because of the way the lug itself meets the case. And you can see what I mean, how it just ever so slightly curves down. I don't know how I feel about that either. Again, it's just a case detail that you either like or hate. Again, rather neutral note, but it is something I noticed, something that kind of feels off about this watch that, that would otherwise just make it the perfect daily diver, in my opinion. But let me know what your thoughts are on the overall case design of the Seaforth. Are there any things that you do not like about this case? Perhaps the crown guards, perhaps the size or scale of the crown itself, or those lugs. Do they affect you as much as they affect me? Let me know. Now, before I close out this review, I want to provide you all with the wrist shot so you can see what this might look like on your wrist. And of course, as you all know, I have a 7¼ inch wrist. And I'm hoping this unscripted review is helping you get a better sense of what it's like to have one of these in ownership. I figured it would probably be better to take this approach with this particular watch because it's one I personally own and have been wearing for quite some time now. And I've had mixed feelings towards it since the get-go. But I do hope that this helps in that sense, just from an owner to another owner's perspective, or potential owner if you're looking to buy one secondhand, or if you're looking to get the bronze one. I think the bronze model is probably going to be excellent. I can see it coming out with a green dial. It'd be really great with a cream dial. But hopefully those won't sell out within the first day. Maybe you'll get a chance to pick one of those up. It's very tempting. I love bronze watches, but I don't think I need another one. So if you're looking to get a Halios Seaforth bronze, I do hope this helps you. Now, here is the Halios Roldorf edition on a 7¼ inch wrist for all of your admirers. And when you are going to admire it, it's going to look a little something like this. Woo, man, nothing looks better than this watch on leather. I swear, this is the right look for this watch. Although I bet it would look really amazing on a bracelet, but, I don't think we're ever going to get that. I bet if Jason decided to make a bracelet for this watch and sell it for $500, people would eat that up. I would right now. Jason, if you happen to watch this, send this to him. If you watch this, if you said that you were going to make a bracelet for this watch that fit this watch perfectly, mated with it beautifully, I would buy it for $500 because I like this watch that much, but I am a bracelet guy. It's funny, I'm not a leather strap guy, but I love this watch on leather. However, if it were on bracelet, I would be obsessed with this piece. It's probably the only piece I would wear. It's just such an easygoing watch, At the cost, it's a real tough sell. It was, at least initially for me, because, I don't have that much money. And when I make a purchase, it's after having saved or sold or traded or, whatever the situation is, but it's a big occasion for me. And maybe it's the same way for you, but, this watch, it's one of the watches I've purchased in a long while that really felt worth it. It's the last watch I purchased last year, as a matter of fact. And, at first, I didn't know how I felt with the total package. I was a little dissatisfied, but after ownership, I really turned around. I don't think I've been happier long-term with a watch than I have with this. It's just a really, really excellent looker and a very fun piece to wear. If you're interested in getting compliments while you're out, well, this piece gets those compliments. Even non-watch people like this watch. It's just an eye-catcher. you really do have something with this design, please don't make it a standard model, because then I won't feel so limited special anymore. Oh, one more odds and ends note. This is something I've noticed with my watch. Let me know if you own a Halios Seaforth Roldorf edition. Do you notice this as well? I understand that that outer ring on some of the dials is green. My dial, you can't tell here, but in certain lights, it has the faintest hint of green. It's like an off charcoal green. Let me know, and maybe you can pick it up here. I think my white balance is pretty spot on for this camera down here. If you don't know what that is, it's just the coloration of what you're seeing. But essentially, the ring itself looks a little green in broad daylight. Let me know if your cream and charcoal dial, that ring, is also slightly green. It's the lugs and the green tint on that dial that kind of throw me off. You know, obviously, it's not that significant, otherwise I would get rid of it, but it's interesting to note. I just noticed that mine is slightly green. I'd love to know if yours came out slightly green as well. Oh man, this is a rambly episode. I'm sure this one's a little bit longer than my typical fare these days, but I do hope I helped provide you guys with a little bit of information from one user to another, what this watch is like. I really do enjoy the Halios Seaforth. Of course, there's things I wish could have been different with this total package, but I think by and large, this was a fantastic purchase. If you're looking to buy from the brand, I can personally state that they're excellent. Their customer care is brilliant. They do a great job of helping you out, regardless of who you are. They didn't give me any sort of special treatment as I'm a reviewer. And if you watched my update video, I mentioned this fact that when I reached out to them initially, I was mentioning that I was going to buy one of these for review on the show. Not to get a discount or anything crazy like that, but just to give them a heads up. So no, I didn't get a discount, in case you're wondering. But they were so good about getting this piece out to me and resolving all of my issues with it. And that's really helped, bring the experience with this piece up. It's really helped bolster my love and my enjoyment of this watch. So if you are ever interested in buying a Halios, know that the group is really great. Jason is a really great guy. He's the owner of the brand and the designer behind these watches. Someone I'd really love to interview, as a matter of fact. It'd be fun to pick his brain on his design and how he works. But what he did here with Roldorf is really fantastic. If you're looking to pick one up and you can find one at a good price, I think it's worth it. And it's a piece that, if you enjoy the brand, is really the quintessential model to own from them, at least if you enjoy the Seaforth series. Now, if you found this video enlightening or in the least entertaining, feel free to hit that like button. It looks a whole heck of a lot like this guy. If you have friends, forums, or groups that were interested in picking up a Halios Seaforth, well, feel free to share this video with them so they can get another consumer's opinion on the brand. And here's the thing. With the Seaforth, there's only one model in the foreseeable future, at least as of filming this, and that's the bronze version. And with Halios, Halios is one of those magical brands. There's only so many of them, but there's a few micro brands where when you buy their product, it only goes up in value. And I'm not advocating this, but if you were timid to buying a Halios, if you didn't know if you'd like it, dislike it, the good bit of news is if you purchase one, you will more than likely be able to break even on that watch should it not suit your fancy, if you don't like it. So don't let that be a concern if you're buying into the brands. Obviously, the cost of admission is a little high. It's an over $500 watch, but you're getting a great value there, and you will certainly get your money back if you don't like the watch. Just one consumer to another. I do think that this is really good value. For some reason, folks just eat these Halios up, and I can see why. Also, if you're new to the channel, well, guess what? I do videos like this 2 or more times a week, so if watch content is your thing, feel free to slam that subscribe button, and while you're down there, feel free to hit that little bell icon just next to that to be alerted as to when my videos air. Again, my name is Patrick Marlett, and thank you for the time. And as is the new tradition here on the show, here is the Halios Seaforth extended wrist time. I'll give you all a little bit of a wrist roll. Oh yeah. Ugh. Bam, baby. This guy looks fantastic. I'm going to work in just a few... I don't know why. I love Panasonic, but we don't need a lens cap in the way. I'm going to work in just a few, and just so you guys know, I actually do a little bit of bartending in the city area, as well as maitre d' at a recreational cooking facility. So, this watch doesn't get babied. It's usually lugging around a bunch of shit, knocking into walls, knocking into people. So you can't tell, but there's actually a few dings, dents, micro scratches on this case. It's been getting a lot of love, like all my watches. I don't really advocate getting beater watches because I think the watch you wear should be the watch you want to wear. You shouldn't be hiding or babying any of your crap. Like, this is just material stuff, really. At the end of the day, it's all just borrowed. So why not enjoy it while you have it? And this piece I've been enjoying thoroughly. It really is a fantastic watch. I can't elaborate that enough. I could understand why people like the Seaforth so much. It's really this dial configuration that does it for me. I think the standard Seaforth is great. I like the pastel blue one a lot, actually. Again, I wouldn't trade this particular model for any one of them, though. It has what I'm going to call like the Halios hands. These are very iconic Halios hands now. I hope they continue using these for their, standard models. But that dial is so special. And it's, hopefully if you're in the New York City area and we happen to be at a meetup, I'll be wearing this. I will let you take this in as long as you want because it's so worth it. There's a little step between that black ring and the cream of the dial that adds just a little bit of dimensionality to it. Also, the lume on this is okay. You should have gotten a lume shot somewhere in the middle of this. It's not the brightest lume, but it's pretty damn consistent, like throughout the day. Like, I know when I step out of this room, it's pretty bright. I know when I step out of this room and I go throughout my house to a room with less light, it will be very easy to read for the next few hours. And when it gets dark out, it's very easy to read throughout the most of the night. And you rarely go without some form of street light or ambient light in the city, so it's never been that difficult for me to read the time. However, the lume here is really nice and consistent. All in all, they did a fantastic job, with this piece. And again, it's really a watch meant to be worn on leather. So if you enjoy wearing a dive watch on leather, this is the right one for you. And on that note, it's funny because this is a dive watch, but it doesn't feel like a dive watch, particularly with that fixed bezel, obviously, that separates it from its ilk. But the diving bezel found on the standard Seaforths is really fantastic. It's a real sharp look for those models, but I couldn't see this with a diving bezel or a 12-hour bezel. It just wouldn't have looked right. The fixed bezel was the right choice here, and it puts it in a different territory. It feels more dress than diver. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you enjoyed the down-to-earth, candid commentary. I kind of enjoy just speaking off the cuff on pieces I privately own. It's honestly a little bit more fun for me than, scripting out my thoughts and making it colorful and fluffy for you all. I'd rather just give you my opinion, as we normally do here on the show. At any rate, hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, guys.